this video goes to print, so to speak, I may have used a, well, let's say provocative title. It's been kind of kicking around my head whether to do it or not. Um, and I'll begin with an apology if it provokes you in a negative way. At this time of recording, I haven't made the final decision on whether to do that, but I am kind of leaning towards it. Also start by saying I'm not talking about the banlieues, excuse my pronunciation on that, but the the areas with the social housing, what the U.S. would call the projects, and I'm not talking about France's social issues or anything of that sort. What I'm talking about is culture, values, and perception. Look who's joined us. My walking buddy. I've also picked up my daily baguette. We all know by now that the U.S. is, perhaps the most capitalistic country in the world, or commercialism is another word you might use for it. Very commercialistic country. Somebody does not like when I stop. Oh Lord. To keep that commercialism going, it's become a very much a throwaway society, because what's better to fire the engines of industry than to keep buying new things rather than repairing what you already have. And that applies even to the built landscape, to homes and buildings. All my life I have been bothered by a sort of lack of authenticity in the built environment of the U.S., a sort of artificialness or superficialness has made me sometimes be attracted to or look at some of the poorest neighbors in the country as being the most attractive or authentic. But in the neighborhoods that I've lived in, the old homes are too often simply torn down and replaced with a new home. The landscaping is off the shelf. It's very generic, off the shelf of a department store. Spikey, can you please sit, buddy? And it's all the same. California, even the ubiquitous and emblematic palm tree is a complete fraud. They are not, the palm trees that you so often see in TV shows and so forth aren't even native to California. The tremendous focus on having things look brand spanking new. That the country is very, as you know, litigious, meaning lots of lawyers and lots of lawsuits. This results in lawsuits for things such as a counter at a store or a aisle being 2 inches too narrow, resulting in a lawsuit. Not because anyone actually got injured, but because it theoretically, rather than in reality, violates the right of, for example, a disabled person. When we first came to France, we landed in Annecy, which is a very picturesque, touristic town on a beautiful glacial lake near the mountains. A beautiful little historic downtown. We really wanted to end up there, but we didn't really like the school situation we found there. We'd heard about an international school in Grenoble as well as an American school, and for our preteen and teenager, we thought that was probably a better option. So we came to visit Grenoble. And coming from Annecy, we were a bit concerned. It just seemed a bit gritty, and there was a lot of graffiti. And to an American, it had a lot of things that we in the U.S. would consider signs of I don't know, uh, a rough neighborhood. Let's put it that way. Some of the graffiti I'm talking about, it's everywhere. Of course, France is just a lot older. It's just a lot more historic building stock. Sidewalks are a bit more tattered. Um, there's a little less uniformity in everything. In fact, the building that we lived in, when I first saw it, I thought it was the projects. Now, come to find out, it's considered high end. I'd say French are more about repairing and reusing, and not throwing away things just to replace it with something new. I'd also say it's about not sweating the small things so much. The thing that I noticed that was so different from the downtown of my city in the US, that being San Diego, was just how vibrant the streets of downtown were. Just lots of people at outdoor cafes, people of all ages and walks of life. And it felt like just a very healthy, um, authentic community. One of the things I couldn't get over, it seemed like there was a school at, on every corner with, the delightful sounds of school children playing in the schoolyard. In contrast, San Diego's downtown and many Western cities have gone through a aggressive renewal program in the last half century, and um, have uh, less less graffiti, less decay, less grit, perhaps, than downtown Grenoble. There's been a lot of new residents that have moved downtown, but fewer residents walking around, and perhaps more importantly, the residents there are kind of homogenous. They're empty, they're young couples or single people that don't have children. So there's sort of a real absence of children downtown. So because the new residences in these urban renewal downtowns in the U.S. are quite expensive, uh, the people that live there tend to be, high income types. It creates a sort of inauthentic and one-dimensional community. That brings me to another comparison, and that is the sort of boom-bust cycle of neighborhoods and cities in the U.S. versus the greater stability of cities in France, albeit I know the French people are going to say au contraire and point out examples here in France, but it's a degree of difference. So in the U.S., cities or neighborhoods are either gentrifying or declining generally, especially urban neighborhoods. So gentrification is a huge issue, with the original residents being pushed out by improvements made to the neighborhood that bring in wealthier residents. I've been told that this downtown Grenoble area has gone through a lot of sort of renewal and gentrification. But when you look up, there is just a lot of apartment housing stock that is too expensive to redevelop into, high income, wealthy but it's just not going to be attractive to wealthy. Well, not the least reason because a lot of it has no elevators, and it's impossible to put elevators into some of these medieval homes, buildings. Impossible, let's say impractical. Exception, of course, is these 19th century and early 20th century Haussmannian um, apartments that are very luxurious and very much in demand by wealthy people. So here's one type of housing stock, and then another next to each other, and it's pretty mixed that way all through the downtown area. And like I said, this is not about the social housing or projects have their own set of problems that tend to ring these downtown areas and in Grenoble and pretty much all the French cities, significant French cities that I'm familiar with. For me, there is a sense of stability, authenticity, and vibrancy that I never had, or never felt, I should say, in the US. For me, there's this feeling of the happy, vibrant ghetto, where the term ghetto would just refer really to graffiti, grit, and some amount of building deterioration. In the US, it refers to destitution, crime, poverty, which again, I know exists in France. That's not what this video is about. This video is about sort of authenticity and commercialism and how in the US it's a throwaway society. It's a society built on marketing glitz, which permeates into every aspect of US lives, including how you including your own house and what it looks like on the outside. Whereas it's not, it is not to that extreme extent here in France, as far as I can tell. That does not mean we're in a ghetto. That means we're a bad neighborhood at all. At this point, I feel like I'm just repeating myself, so it's time to wrap up this video.